guys! I recently made a shirt in order to wear to Universal Studios Hollywood in honor of Grinchmas celebrating right now. I always try and dress up for the occasion, so I wanted to make sure I had something a little festive to wear for Grinchmas because it is my favorite time at Universal Studios. I decided to go for something a little fun and a little funky, going based off of the Whoville tree that is so iconic for Grinchmas, but I wanted to put a little spin on it by making it entirely essentially out of pom-poms. All I really needed for this DIY was a shirt to put this on. I ended up choosing a long sleeve shirt just from Target, nothing too fancy because you are going to be covering it up. A piece of felt, preferably one that matches your shirt pretty well because this is going to be the base of your tree. I chose a little bit of a wider one as well so that I had a little bit of playing room just in case I were to make any mistakes or didn't like my drafts, just for a little extra. I also needed some pom-poms. I feel like I maybe used around 30 to 50, but I bought a pack of 2,000 pom-poms on Amazon because it was such a great deal, so I'll be able to use these going forward. I used one gold pipe cleaner for the star of my tree, and to throw this all together I used fabric glue, a little bit of thread, and I ended up putting some finishing touches on it as well with some things that I had lying around the house. First things first, I took my shirt, measured it out with my tape measure to figure out exactly how big I wanted this tree to be. The Whoville tree kind of has a little bit of a curve to it, so was kind of trying to visualize without cutting into the felt just yet. So I took my tape measure and ended up being about 7 inches by 7 inches, so I drafted that with a little fabric pen. You could use really any other pen to kind of mark it since you are going to be covering that portion. And I kind of outlined freehand what I wanted the tree to look like, so then I knew what I was working with in terms of the pom-poms. After drafting this up on the felt, I just outlined the whole thing to make sure I had all of it, and I wanted to make sure that I put all my pom-poms on it first, just so I had some wiggle room in case I put it together, didn't really like the shape of it, not committing to that size just yet. The next step was putting all the pom-poms onto this canvas, so first I took all of my thousands of pom-poms, dumped out a portion of them so that I could sort them. My vision was that the green pom-poms were going to be representative of the tree itself, and the more colorful pom-poms were going to be the ornaments that are on the tree. So I set aside the sparkly pom-poms. I had a pile for the green pom-poms and then the other colored ones just so I could kind of spice it up, make sure that some of the sparkle poms were in there, get a little variety of sizes, colors, shapes, and so forth. The first part that I did on the tree was the very tip top just to make sure it had a nice point, and I used a small green pom-pom for that. After then, really filling in that tree is going to be totally up to you. I went top to bottom, but once I got towards the bottom I tried to fill it in with some of the bigger pom-poms just so I could get more of that variety. I would do about 2 rows of each color, alternating between the green pom-poms and the rest of the colors just so you could have that defined line all the way through where those ornaments are on the tree. I took each individual pom-pom, put a little dab of fabric glue on it, and adhered it to the felt for a few seconds. Now, I've never used this fabric glue before, so I didn't think it adhered as well as I anticipated it would. So it did make it a little bit tricky. I did put it onto the felt, and then overnight after I completed this whole thing, I set something heavy on it so that that would help them stick a little bit more. The good news is this did end up working, and it did last pretty much a whole day at Universal. A couple of them did shift a little bit, but we didn't lose any completely. After gluing everything on the tree and getting that essential tree shape, I decided it still needed a little more flair, so something optional that I decided to do was that I took some white fabric paint, just getting a little bit at a time, a little tiny paintbrush, and I was dabbing the tops of the green pom-poms. I wanted this to represent the snow sticking onto the tree since it does have that little bit of a frosted look when you see the tree over in Universal Studios. So I feel like this added a lot for something that I just had lying around the house. After letting the paint dry overnight just to be extra safe that it was ready to go, I cut out the entire tree so that it could go onto the shirt next. I just tried to get as close as I could to the pom-poms without ruining the integrity of where they were glued down to. After cutting out the Christmas tree in total, I tried to place it onto my shirt. A mistake that I made was that I thought I could eyeball where I wanted it to go. It ended up being a little too high compared to what I wanted it to be, but again, this is up to you for where you want to have it. Mine ended up kind of working out because it ended up right next to my collar, so then the star was a little bit underneath it, so it looked a little funkier. But if you're looking for something a little more streamlined and lateral, you might want to try your shirt on and mark it. Be a little more proactive than I did. After I found the spot that I decided I wanted to do it, I just did a little bit of stitches all around. This requires pretty minimal sewing experience because you can really sew it any way you want. If you're looking for a little extra security, you can also take this moment to sew down some of the pom-poms themselves. I mainly stitched around the edges of it, but I did get a couple stitches inside the tree as well so that it would stay a little more secure. You just want to make sure that your tree is staying flat on your shirt and that you aren't getting any other bunches in there from having it shift in your hands. After sewing this on, my last step was to put the star on the tree. I took one pipe cleaner and just eyeballed the kind of corners that I wanted to have on the star for the shape, getting those 5 points that were all pretty equal in size, and then I just wrapped them at the end together once I had that length. This was very easy, only took one pipe cleaner, and then at that point I was able to mold it a little bit better after making the star shape in order to make sure that it fit my tree. Sewing the star on was pretty easy as well. I just did points at each one of the corners and one on the middle of each line as well. Securing that with just maybe 3 points per side ended up making it stay totally fine throughout the day. All in all, I think this project maybe took about 2 hours or so, including the gluing, a little bit of the paint, and stitching it onto the actual shirt. I did it over the course of a couple days, so it might be faster if you're able to just sit with it for a little bit longer. All in all, I think this was a pretty quick and easy tutorial of something that I put together a little last minute for Universal Studios for Grinchmas. So let's see how it looked. I'm sure you can use this process for lots of other designs, and I'd love to see what you guys come up with as well. Hopefully you guys like this video. I plan to be making more tutorials of little things that I wear, make, create, just to show you a little step by step. If you guys end up using this tutorial, please send it my way, tag me on whatever so I can see it, because I'd love to see what you come up with. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.